Unit 2, Developing the UI Design. Lesson 1, Generating Design Ideas for User Interface. Introduction. Generating design ideas for UI is essential as it fosters innovation, problem-solving, and user-centric design. It allows designers to explore new and creative solutions, address specific challenges, and empathize with users. By generating multiple ideas, designers can iterate and improve the design based on feedback and testing, ensuring a satisfying user experience. Collaboration and communication are enhanced as design ideas facilitate discussions and convey design intentions to stakeholders. Generating design ideas is crucial for creating effective and captivating UI designs that meet user needs and drive success. In this lesson, we will learn about brand guidelines, UI design principles, trends, and techniques that can help us generate the right ideas for our UI design. Topic 1: Brand Guidelines. Brand guidelines refer to the rules defined by a business to communicate how the business is presented to the public. It includes the colors, fonts, voice, and design. Brand guidelines help businesses get recognized by consumers. For this reason, it is important for businesses to always apply their brand guidelines to their communication channels and products. The brand guidelines may cover the following: brand's logo, details of its design and usage, including acceptable sizes and colors. Brand color scheme, specific shades, including HEX, CMYK, or RGB codes, and how and where to use them. Typefaces, or fonts, which ones to use and where, i.e., headings and body text. Company's ideal audience. Voice and tone, how the brand speaks to its customers in written communication. Social media guidelines, rules on how to communicate with consumers on social media. However, brand guidelines can also be found in the style guide and design brief. Grids. Typography. Color. Icons. Fields. Buttons and navigations. Self-controls and paginations. Remember to conduct user testing and gather feedback during the design process to refine and improve the UI based on the needs and preferences of the target audience. Design techniques. Here are some of the practical UI design techniques provided by webdesignerdepot.com. Modal windows. A type of pop-up window that appears within the current browser window, overlaying the content. They require user interaction and often darken the content below to focus attention on the window. By using modal windows, interfaces can simplify processes that would otherwise require loading a new page. For example, settings, edit boxes, and login forms can be displayed in a modal window, saving users from navigating to a separate page and reducing server load. Hover controls. These are controls that remain hidden until the user hovers over certain areas. Using these simplifies an application's interface by hiding less important controls to allow easier navigation. This approach reduces clutter and presents controls in context. While there is a risk that new users may overlook hidden controls, the tendency to mouse over elements increases the likelihood of discovering them. This technique maintains functionality while creating a simpler interface. Controls on demand. These hides the controls until the user clicks on them, can simplify the interface while retaining advanced functionality. This is one use of JavaScript. For example, a search box with custom filters can be hidden behind a button at the end of the search bar. Clicking the button reveals the additional options, catering to users who require advanced search capabilities while keeping the interface simple for those who only need basic search functionality. By hiding less frequently used controls, the interface becomes cleaner and easier to understand, reducing cognitive load for new users. Striking the right balance between what to hide and what to keep visible is a crucial task for designers. Expanding forms. To avoid clutter and provide flexibility for users uploading multiple files, an expanding form can be employed. Instead of displaying multiple file upload fields, an initial field is presented, and upon file upload, another field dynamically appears below it. This approach applies to various input fields, such as email addresses for inviting team members. By dynamically creating fields as needed, the interface saves space and simplifies the user experience. Labels inside input forms. To simplify and speed up form filling, a technique called in-field labels can be employed. In-field labels simplify forms by placing labels inside the input fields as pre-filled values. This saves space and makes the form appear easier to complete. When users click on a field, the label dims, and it disappears completely only when they start typing. This maintains label visibility while ensuring a clean interface for form input. Icons instead of text. Simplifying interface design involves removing unnecessary labels and using icons when suitable. By eliminating obvious labels and relying on context, the interface becomes cleaner. Icons take up less space, attract attention, and can convey meaning effectively. However, clarity should not be compromised, and a combination of icons and text can be used if needed. Overall, simplifying interfaces means reducing clutter and finding a balance between simplicity and clarity. Context-based controls. Two approaches can be used in UI design: consistency and context. Consistency focuses on keeping controls the same throughout an application or website to avoid confusion. Context-based design adjusts controls based on the specific task or page, showing only relevant elements. Consistency is crucial for general web design, ensuring predictable navigation. However, web applications can benefit from a context-based approach, tailoring controls to the task at hand and reducing screen clutter. This simplifies user interaction and improves efficiency. UI design trends. As visual graphic designers, we must also always be updated with current design trends so that we can explore more ways of designing our outputs and keeping our audiences engaged. Here are some of the top UI design trends from the Interaction Design Foundation. Skeuomorphism. The design elements are made to appear like their real-world counterparts to bridge the physical and digital worlds. This visual approach was used in the earliest graphical user interfaces. Minimalism, as a UI trend. The interface follows the less is more principle and uses negative space with bold colors and font combinations so it remains elegantly simple and sophisticated. Minimalist interfaces focus on the functionality of elements, and not on the decorative elements. When designed well, the simple structure of this interface gives the users a highly intuitive journey through the design. Flat design. Simplicity is the main focus of the design aesthetic. It simplified the real-life design of elements, making them faster to load in mobile devices. This trend follows the minimalist approach and uses no shadows on the elements or decorative elements. Instead, it makes use of bright colors and good typography. Flat Design 2.0, the evolved flat design added subtle shadows or color variations to add depth and dimension. This addition highlights the interactive elements so that users know to interact with these elements, thus improving usability. Bauhaus style. This UI centers on geometric and abstract shapes, lines, shapes, colors, and balanced form and uses them as design elements as well. It follows Germany's Bauhaus art and design movement. It makes use of innovative typography and non-distracting non-functional details. Bold typography. Typography is the focus of the UI design, and so other elements are adjusted. It creates big statements and shock value. Neumorphism. The elements appear to be extruded or raised the background, making it look like you can physically interact with them. It combines the minimalism of flat design and the realism of skeuomorphism. Shadows and gradients are used to make the elements look three-dimensional. Glassmorphism. The design elements appear see-through and layered. The objects look like they are floating on space due to the translucent frosted glass background that is achieved through the use of background blur and semi-transparent outline. This design trend is characterized by transparency, light borders, and vivid or pastel colors. Animation/motion, as a UI trend. Animations and transitions are added to the interface to make it more attractive and engaging to the user. The movements of the elements must appear natural to enhance the design and not be distracting to the user. Illustration, as a UI trend. Digital or hand-drawn, 2D or 3D illustrations are used to give the UI more personality. It is sometimes combined with motion design to bring life to static pages. Illustrations of people are also used to add characters to the design and generate empathy from the users, therefore improving user engagement. Dark mode, as a UI trend. The light text is used against a dark background, reducing the luminance emitted by device screens. According to some studies, this reduces eye strain and helps improve visual ergonomics. It also somehow helps conserve battery power. Lesson 2, Developing Designs for UI. Introduction. Developing designs for UI requires taking off from work done during the UX research phase. In UX, you came up with the low-fidelity sketches. Transitioning from low-fidelity sketches in UX, user experience, design to UI, user interface, design involves refining and translating the basic concepts and user flows into more detailed visual representations. In this lesson, you will learn about the different steps in the UI design process, which we have divided into topics. Are you ready to start developing your UI design? Then click on the first topic. Topic 1, Wireframes/Gray Boxing. Start the UI design process by thoroughly reviewing the low-fidelity sketches from the UX phase. Understand the user flows, key interactions, and the overall structure of the interface. Identify the essential elements that need to be incorporated into the UI. Once you're satisfied with your low-fidelity sketches, the next step is to translate them into more detailed wireframes using design software or specialized tools. Wireframes allow you to refine the UI design further and add additional details and annotations. Wireframing is a fundamental step in the design process, particularly in the fields of UX, user experience, and UI, user interface, design. It involves creating a visual representation of a digital product or application, outlining the basic structure and layout without delving into detailed design elements. Wireframes serve as a skeletal framework for the final design, focusing on the arrangement of content and the overall user experience. Here is the general outline of the procedure in creating wireframes or gray boxing. Create low-fidelity wireframes or gray boxes that represent the basic structure and layout of the UI. Define the main content areas, navigation, and key functionalities. Avoid detailed visual design elements and focus on overall structure and placement. Topic 1, Wireframes/Gray Boxing. Setting up the page size and orientation in Figma. In UI design, page settings refer to the various elements and attributes that can be configured to define the layout, structure, and behavior of a specific page within a user interface. The specific options available may vary depending on the design software or platform being used. Here's how to set up the page size and orientation in Figma. Using grid in user interface design. Grids are used to organize a design layout and guide and control the positioning of elements on a page. A grid system helps in creating visual stability and order, and in providing a more understandable and easy to navigate design. In both UX and UI designs, grid systems help improve the user experience by enhancing readability, clarifying information architecture, and providing a framework for responsive design. Elements of grid. Columns. Grids are mostly taken up by columns since these are where elements and contents are placed. The widths of columns are generally defined with percentages and the number of columns is varied to adapt to any screen size. Gutters. These are the spaces between the columns that separate elements and contents from the other columns. Their widths are generally fixed, but can still change based on the different breakpoints. Margins. These are the outermost areas on the left and right parts of the screen. There are no contents in the margins. The spaces on margins can be fixed or expressed as a percentage of the screen width and can adjust at different breakpoints. Common grid systems. The following are some of the common grid systems used in UX and UI design. Baseline grid. A dense grid wherein the text sits on horizontal lines that are equally spaced. It is usually paired with column grids so that the lines of text in each column are aligned uniformly across a spread. Example, a sheet of ruled paper in a notebook. Column grid. The most common type of grid for designers wherein a page is split into a number of vertical fields that shall contain the objects. Examples: newspapers and magazines. Modular grid. Similar to a column grid, although rows are added to it, creating an intersection or modules that serve as guide for layout decisions. Examples: magazines and corporate reports. Manuscript grid. A one-column grid that determines the placement of the text in a page. Examples: traditional groups where the layouts of facing pages mirror each other. Pixel grid. Seen on zoomed-in digital screens, as digital screens are composed of a microscopic grid of millions of pixels. Hierarchical grid. An irregular grid that accommodates the specific needs of the content. It can be completely freeform, or a combination of two superimposed grids or other additional grid elements. Examples: Trello, Asana and many modern websites. Breaking the grid. Uses a column grid, but some elements tend to settle to the margins, while others stay on the column. Breaking the grid makes specific items stand out more than others. Using grid in user interface design. Topic 2: Component design. Once you have a solid understanding of the overall layout and structure of your UI, you can focus on designing individual components. Components are reusable elements such as buttons, forms, cards, and icons that make up the UI. Consider the visual style, size, shape, color, and behavior of each component. Create low-fidelity sketches of these components, exploring different variations and states, e.g., hover, active, disabled. Here are the general steps in designing the components. 1. Review the design brief and branding guidelines. 1. Understand the project's goals, target audience, and any specific requirements mentioned in the design brief. 2. Study the branding guidelines and style guide to ensure your component designs align with the established brand identity. 2. Determine visual style. 1. Consider the project's tone, mood, and target audience to define the visual style for your components, e.g., minimalistic, bold, playful. 2. Apply appropriate design principles and techniques that complement the chosen visual style. 3. Establish component size and shape. 1. Refer to the wireframes and define the precise size and shape of each component. 2. Ensure consistency in size and shape throughout the interface to maintain a cohesive design. 4. Select colors. 1. Apply the approved color palette from the branding guidelines to your component designs. 2. Choose colors that evoke the desired emotions and create a visually appealing interface. 3. Consider color contrast and accessibility guidelines to ensure legibility and inclusivity. 5. Define component behavior and interactivity. 1. Determine how components should respond to user interactions, such as hover, active, or disabled states. 2. Sketch low-fidelity variations of each component to visualize how they change in different states. 3. Follow established UI design patterns and trends to enhance the interactivity and usability of your components. 6. Typography. 1. Select appropriate typography based on the branding guidelines and project requirements. 2. Choose font styles that are legible, consistent, and align with the project's visual style. 3. Establish hierarchy by assigning different font sizes and weights to headings, subheadings, and body text. 7. Apply UI design principles. 1. Incorporate UI design principles such as simplicity, consistency, hierarchy, and clarity into your component designs. 2. Ensure that each component is intuitive and easy to understand for users. 3. Utilize spacing, alignment, and visual cues to guide users through the interface and improve usability. 8. Explore UI design techniques and trends. 1. Stay updated with current UI design techniques and trends relevant to your project. 2. Research and experiment with design patterns, interactions, and visual effects to enhance your component designs. 3. However, ensure that the techniques and trends you incorporate align with the project's goals and the user experience. 9. Iterate and gather feedback. 1. Share your component designs with stakeholders and gather feedback on their visual appeal, usability, and adherence to the design brief and branding guidelines. 2. Iterate on your designs based on the feedback received and make necessary adjustments to improve the overall quality of the components. Topic 2. Component Design. Designing UI push navigation menu using Figma. Creating placeholders for input fields. Creating image carousels. Designing the search input field. Creating filters. Designing pop-up boxes. Enhancing UI design with hover controls. Topic 3. Creating the high-fidelity prototype. After designing the components, review your wireframes against the low-fidelity sketches, the user flows and the task flows. Once you've iterated your design, you can move on to creating high-fidelity designs using design software or specialized tools. High-fidelity wireframes are detailed and visually refined representations of a user interface, providing a more polished and realistic view of the final design compared to low-fidelity wireframes. High-fidelity wireframes include more design elements, such as color, typography, and images, and often resemble the final product closely. They serve as a bridge between the conceptual phase and the actual design implementation, providing a comprehensive guide for designers and developers. Remember, achieving high fidelity in UI design requires attention to detail, consistency, and a thorough understanding of the target audience and project goals. Topic 4. Prototyping. After the high-fidelity design of the UI has been approved, you can now proceed to prototyping. Prototyping refers to the creation of interactive, dynamic representations of a digital product's interface. Prototypes serve as a tangible and testable model that allows designers, stakeholders, and users to experience the intended user interactions and flows before the actual development of the product begins. Prototyping is a crucial phase in the design process, providing a more realistic and interactive preview of the user interface compared to static wireframes or mockups. Developing a prototype of your UI design is an important step in the design process as it allows you to create an interactive representation of your interface and test its functionality. Here's a process for developing a prototype of your UI design. Remember, prototyping is an iterative process, and it's crucial to continuously test, gather feedback, and refine your design. The prototype serves as a valuable tool to bridge the gap between design and development, ensuring a smooth transition from concept to a functional user interface. Lesson 3. Finalizing the user interface design. Introduction. Finalizing the UI, user interface, design is a critical step in the overall design process, marking the conclusion of the visual design phase before the handoff to development. The finalization process involves ensuring that the UI design is polished, consistent, aligned with project goals, and ready for implementation. In this lesson, you will learn about the final steps in designing the user interface. Click the next topic to begin. Topic 1. Finalizing the UI design. Steps to finalize UI design. 1. Comprehensive review. Conduct a comprehensive review of the entire UI design, examining each screen, component, and interaction. Verify that all design elements align with the established design principles, brand guidelines, and user experience objectives. 2. Consistency check. Ensure visual consistency across all screens and components. Check for consistent use of color, typography, spacing, and other design elements. Consistency contributes to a cohesive and professional-looking interface. 3. Pixel perfection. Pay attention to detail and strive for pixel perfection. Ensure that all visual elements are precisely aligned, and spacing is consistent. This level of detail contributes to a polished and visually pleasing design. 4. Typography and readability. Verify that typography choices are consistent and contribute to readability. Check font sizes, line spacing, and text alignment to ensure a clear and user-friendly reading experience. 5. Color accessibility. Ensure that color choices comply with accessibility standards. Check color contrast ratios to guarantee that text and interactive elements are easily readable for users with varying levels of visual abilities. 6. Responsive design. Test the UI design on different devices and screen sizes to ensure responsiveness. Verify that the design adapts effectively to various resolutions and orientations while maintaining a consistent user experience. 7. Interactive prototypes. If interactive prototypes were created during the design process, review them to validate that interactions and transitions align with the intended user experience. Ensure that interactive elements provide clear feedback and contribute to a smooth user journey. 8. Collaboration with developers. Collaborate closely with the development team to discuss and address any technical considerations or constraints. Ensure that the UI design is feasible for implementation and work collaboratively to resolve any potential challenges. 9. Design handoff documentation. Prepare comprehensive design handoff documentation for developers. Include detailed specifications, design assets, style guides, and any additional information necessary for a smooth implementation of the UI design. 10. Usability testing, optional. If time and resources permit, consider conducting usability testing on the final UI design. Gather feedback from real users to identify any usability issues, validate design decisions, and make any necessary adjustments. 11. Client or stakeholder review. Present the finalized UI design to clients or stakeholders for their review and approval. Address any feedback or concerns raised during this review and make final adjustments as needed. 12. Version control. Implement version control to manage design iterations and ensure that the finalized UI design is accurately documented. This helps in tracking changes, facilitating future updates, and maintaining design consistency. Topic 1. Finalizing the UI design. Creating responsive UI design. Creating a responsive UI, user interface, design refers to the design approach that ensures a seamless and optimal user experience across various devices and screen sizes. Responsive design is aimed at adapting the layout and presentation of a digital interface to accommodate different devices, such as desktops, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. The goal is to provide users with a consistent and user-friendly experience regardless of the device they are using. Topic 2. Testing the UI design. When testing the final UI design, there are several aspects you should consider before handing the design off to the developers. This ensures a high-quality user experience. Here are some important things to check. 1. Consistency. Make sure the design looks the same across different parts of the interface. 2. Navigation. Check if users can easily find their way around and access different features. 3. Responsiveness. Test how the design adapts to different devices and screen sizes. 4. Readability. Ensure that text is easy to read and understand. 5. Visual hierarchy. Make sure important elements stand out and catch the user's attention. 6. Error handling. Check if error messages are clear and helpful. 7. Interactions and feedback. Test if buttons and animations work well and provide clear feedback. 8. Usability. Observe users to see if they have any difficulties using the design. 9. Accessibility. Ensure the design is accessible to users with disabilities. 10. Branding and aesthetics. Make sure the design matches the organization's style and looks good. 11. Effectiveness of clickable links. Check if links work properly and take users to the intended destinations. Remember, testing the UI design is an ongoing process, and it's important to listen to user feedback to make improvements. Topic 2. Testing the UI design. Conducting usability testing. Usability testing is a user-centered design methodology that aims to identify potential usability issues, gather user feedback, and ensure that the UI design meets user needs and expectations. The testing process typically involves observing users as they perform specific tasks within the interface and collecting qualitative and quantitative data on their interactions. Topic 3. Importance of finalizing the UI design. In conclusion, finalizing the UI design is a crucial step that ensures a visually appealing, consistent, and user-friendly interface. It contributes to the overall success of the project by facilitating efficient development, enhancing user satisfaction, and aligning with project goals. Here's why it matters. 1. User satisfaction. A polished and well-executed UI design enhances user satisfaction. Users are more likely to engage with a visually appealing and user-friendly interface, contributing to a positive overall experience. 2. Alignment with project goals. Finalizing the UI design ensures that the visual elements align with the project goals and objectives. It serves as a checkpoint to confirm that the design meets the intended user needs and business requirements. 3. Effective communication. Clear documentation and a finalized design facilitate effective communication between designers and developers. It reduces the likelihood of misunderstandings, streamlining the handoff process and minimizing the need for back-and-forth communication. 4. Prevention of errors. A thorough finalization process helps catch and rectify any errors or inconsistencies in the UI design before implementation. This prevents issues that may arise during development or post-launch. 5. Project milestone. Finalizing the UI design represents a significant milestone in the design process. It marks the transition from the design phase to the development phase, signaling that the visual aspects of the product are ready for implementation.